So if you look at who spends the money in the economy, it's the people who have the income. And there are household and income and expenditure surveys. A new one is being conducted and the results would probably come out in a few months. But what we have is what we did in 2019. And generally over the many decades, the income and expenditure share of households have not majorly changed. So from the last survey, what we know is 51% of income goes to the top 20% of households and about 46% of expenditure. So if you subsidize, you are trying to help the people who are vulnerable, who are too poor. That's the role of government, right? So that proportion of people who are at the bottom end, the bottom 20% only get 4.6% of income and about 6.3% of expenditure. So as I showed you, the top 20% spend 46%, the bottom 20%, 6.3%. So when you do subsidies through prices, it's people like me who benefit, right? Because I probably have more transport needs, I have a few cars, I probably move around much more than, say, people at the bottom 10% who probably go by bus, right? So the thing is that price-based subsidies is not the best way to target helping those people. Now, we have something called the ASVASUMA, which is a cash transfer program. This has come into force 2 to 3 years ago, and there is a lot of criticism that those who deserve it, some people who deserve it are excluded. Those are called exclusion errors. And some people who are benefiting from it should not be getting it. That's called an inclusion error. And it's all based on a methodology called the deprivation score, which has about 6 different dimensions. Nevertheless, about 1.7 million people are probably in that ASVASUMA net. So what they could do is they could just increase the top up, right? So maybe an additional 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees for the very vulnerable and deprived households for them to offset these fuel price increases. But there is no point doing it through prices because for diesel, we consume about 160 million liters a month. If you subsidize 100 rupees a liter, that is 16 billion on diesel alone. And we consume about 150 million liters of petrol. And the stated subsidy is 20 rupees. So you do the maths, basically, that's another 3 billion. So you put the two together, you're almost at 19 billion. What you'd probably need as a top-up is a fraction of that. And, your tax revenue is impacted because if you're subsidizing fuel, the taxes that you are collecting on fuel is going to get offset. And in some cases, the loss is more than the tax subsidy, right? So, and all your other income is probably going to come down because as we were discussing prior to this, that discretionary consumption is coming down. And they generally have higher incidence of taxation on it. Like you'll have VAT, etc., duty. So the revenue to the government is also coming down. So your revenue is coming down, your subsidy expense is going up, and we are quite a vulnerable country still because, we still are carrying a large amount of debt. Our international rating is just one notch above default.